Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to be counting down my top 10 least favourite Paul McCartney songs. So this is something which was suggested to me because normally like on my channel I do sort of do reviews of albums like where like I'm very sort of gushing about them, where like I really like the albums, and probably none more so than Paul McCartney, who probably is on balance I would say my favourite musician. Like so 99% of like the stuff I say about Paul McCartney tends to be quite positive. So I just thought for balance that I would look at 10 of my personal least favourite Paul McCartney songs. Now a few criteria: the songs had to be either released on albums or as singles, so no sort of B-sides or sort of bonus tracks that would have come out like years later, like songs like which you maybe wanted like to like Hideaway. All these tracks were on studio albums, albums like as like originally released, and also no cover songs either. So like no tracks from say Run Devil Run or Kisses on the Bottom, songs like which I maybe like don't go back to like very often. Like these are all like written like by like Paul McCartney himself. So yeah, we'll just get started with the list now at number 10. Which I'm going for the song Bogey Music, which is on McCartney 2. This is an album which has grown on me a lot since I first heard it, but this is a song which I still don't get on with too well. It's just a bit silly, really. I think he wrote this based around a children's book character, character like I think like the Bogeyman, like, or something like that. But yeah, it's just not a substantial song. It is just a bit annoying, and it's never been a favourite of mine. It's always one which I'm kind of tempted to skip over when listening to McCartney 2. Checkup was originally released on, I think it was only on CD versions of Flowers in the Dirt here, but then it did come out as an A-side single in its own right, so I am including it, and it is a song Ue Le Sole. Now again, this is one song which has kind of grown on me a little bit, because I never used to like the song. I still don't particularly like it. I think it's overlong, but it is a little bit funky, a little bit sort of danceable like kind of song. It is very different like for McCartney, but it's just not very good, and lyrically there's nothing to it. So yeah, for me would be my ninth least favourite McCartney song. Knot it up, knot it down. Next one is at number 8, and it is the song Nod Your Head, which is the final track on Memory Almost Full. Now this I think is a really strong album, and it ends like the penultimate song is great. It's called The End of the End. It's a beautiful, heart-wrenching song about McCartney. He's talking about like what will happen like on like the day like that he dies. It's a very emotional song. And then after it, we just get this, which is a insubstantial, it is a rocking track, but it's just lyrically so trite, and yeah, it's just nothing to it. It's less than 2 minutes, and it just for me really ends this album on a really sour note, I think. So yeah, Nod Your Head would come in at number 8. Next up on my list of least favourite McCartney songs is from Flaming Pie, the recently reissued Flaming Pie, in fact, and it's a song I Really Love You. And again, this is a song which just, why it's included here, I really don't know, because it's not really a song, it's more just like a band jam. Although on it you have got like McCartney on it, Ringo and Jeff Lynne. It's a jam between like 3 of them, and McCartney's just making up like the lyrics, I guess, like he goes along. And yeah, I said there's just nothing to it. And then what makes this song worse is that it goes on for 5 minutes 14 seconds. So yeah, they just didn't know when to cut it back. Like with this song, it might have worked well, like as maybe like a little interlude or something, like maybe like a 1.5 2 minute piece. But it's 5 minutes, it just isn't needed. And plus, like when he had amazing B-sides from this album, like Love Come Tumbling Down and Same Love, fantastic songs like that, what didn't make it. To chuck something like this on, I just think was really like the wrong decision. So yeah, Really Love You will come in at number 7. And nobody goes where the famous groupies go. Next one up is from the London Town album, and it's probably one of the only songs, again, on this album which I dislike. It's Famous Groupies, which, yeah, just a song which hasn't ever really done much for me. It's kind of a sort of jokey song. McCartney is kind of singing it like in like sort of like a line, so like a funny voice, and it just doesn't really mean anything to me lyrically. It's just not an engaging, like an interesting song really. It is just like filler, and yeah, just for me, like not a particularly good song. Next up is from Pipes of Peace, and it is the song Hey Hey, which I could have chose a couple of songs from this album to be on this list. Probably like the other one would have been Tug of Peace, but that song I actually don't mind it. I think it's an interesting mashup. This one is just a rather dull, like instrumental kind of song, and I believe he's got a famous bass player, Stanley Clarke, like on like this one here. So it has a decent enough groove to it. It just doesn't do anything for me really, and yeah, it's just like absolute filler really, and yeah, it doesn't really do the album like any favours. Like like again, considering that like an unreleased song from this album called It's Not On, which is like an amazing song, really really fantastic, really creative, very sort of like wacky song. That would have been like a much better song like to have on Pipes of Peace, like instead of like this song, like which should have really only been like a B-side. Next we've got now number 4 on my list of least favourite McCartney song is the track Bit Bop, which is from the Wildlife album. Now again, this album has been kind of getting somewhat of a critical like reevaluation recently, and for me it has definitely grown to me like a little bit, this album, but still this is a song which I just cannot get on with really. Like yeah, I just think that it's a mix of both like sort of like the production like on this version, which is again it's very bare, but then he's kind of got some weird effects like going on like with his voice. I do prefer there's a live version which is on the Bruce McMouse show, like so like the DVD included on the Redwood Speedway box set, and that is decent enough. It's listenable. It's a lot shorter as well. He cuts out like 1 or 2 verses on that, so that's quite listenable, quite a good performance of it. Whereas on here just seems to drag on and on and on forever. Probably made worse like coming after the track Mumbo, which is a rocking song, but again that has no lyrics on it at all. So then to get this track, which the lyrics on it are just very repetitive and very sort of like banal, it's just a nothing song this, and yeah, for me would come in at number 4 on my list. That's the way it's gonna be. Okay, next song up is taken from the Driving Rain album here from 2001. Again, there's quite a few songs I could have picked from this album, but the one I've gone for is Back in the Sunshine Again, which is just a dull song really. There's just not much happening like on it. Again, I think it's a bit of like a band jam, this one here, but yeah, just like melodically it just doesn't have any of McCartney's sort of characteristic like melodic genius on it. It's just rather dull. Musically doesn't really do anything for me, and like yeah, just isn't a good song. Again, there were other ones I could have picked on here. One spinning on an axis I've never been fond of, but that's one, at least he's trying to do something a little bit different with that. He's kind of almost rapping that song, so again he's trying something new, whereas this one here, it just seems like he's just treading water like on it really. And then of course I could have chose the song Freedom as well, which is yeah, quite terrible as well. But like I have gone for Back in the Sunshine Again, because it is slightly like less well known.
We may win or we may lose. We may even have to cut and run for it. Well,
next up, again, I'm not sure if you would maybe call this a proper song, and it might be slightly cheating to include it on this list, but I'm going for a track on Back to the Egg, which is an album on the whole which I do quite enjoy, but it is the song The Broadcast, which is basically just a sort of spoken word track. It's kind of you've got this kind of piano piece and then this guy reciting some passage from like a novel, and it's just why it's included I have no idea, because it's not like this is like some sort of concept album like where like this is like expanded on like a part of like the story like or like the album concept. It just for me seems like he was maybe trying to do something like that, trying to do something like what maybe say Pink Floyd would do, or like something saying like The Wall or The Wall old sort of like album I wanted come out like around this time as well, but it just doesn't work because none of these songs are kind of interconnected like in like any way, shape or form, and it just comes off as a bit pretentious and like quite a bit of like sort of like filler like on like an otherwise quite solid album here. And now my least favourite Paul McCartney song is not actually one sung by Paul McCartney, so I'm not sure whether you could probably consider this as one of his songs, but he did write it, and it is the song Cook of the House from Wings at the Speed of Sound, and this one, the vocals are handed by Paul Linda, and she, I must say, as a singer, as a backing singer, excellent. Like, she's part of the Wings sounds, like the classic harmonies, like the three-piece harmonies between like her, Paul and Denny, exquisite, but as a lead vocalist she just doesn't have what it takes to carry this song. And then that's before we get to the actual song itself, which is basically her kind of just listing like a load of like ingredients like she has like in like the kitchen, and like on top of like a kind of generic sort of 12-bar blues like rockabilly style song. It's just for me rather terrible. I do prefer her other song Seaside Woman, like actually which has like a more like a reggae sort of feel to it, and she kind of sings that one with Paul as well, whereas this one it's just not particularly good, and it does rather taint this album for me. So yeah, managed to do a video where I'm basically bashing Paul McCartney, but no, like that's just like 10 of as I said, my personal least favourite Paul McCartney songs. Again, a lot of people out there probably do have a lot more songs they could have chosen for this thing. I'm thinking of things like the Frog Chorus and like other songs like sort of like Off the Ilk, Temporary Secretary, like songs like which are well known, which people which the people that generally don't like, but I tend to not mind the songs as much as some of these deeper cuts, which just don't do anything for me personally. So yeah, I would be interested to know what some of your least favourite Paul McCartney songs are in the comments below, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.